space. I need some time to feel free and enjoy.
Alright guys, what's up and welcome back to a brand new video. I hope you guys are all doing well, staying positive, testing negative, you know, all that good stuff. And yeah, apologies for the delay in I guess video uploads and whatnot. Lots going on, I guess, in private life and whatnot. Won't get into it obviously now, but I'll get into it as and maybe as and when there's been sort of further developments and whatnot. But this video is it's going to be split into 3 sections. It's going to be a look back to Leicester's win against Arsenal, and a look forward to Europa League action, obviously starting up this week as of tomorrow. It'll be game week number 2 against Dundalk, and also a look ahead to Arsenal's next game in the Premier League against Manchester United. So yeah, we've got a stacked filled video for you. With everything being said, and I guess without further ado, I guess what better way to start than looking back against Leicester. For me, it was definitely one that highlighted just how bad we've been so far this year. What are we now? 6 games in, 7 games in, something like that. And we've struggled in literally every game so far. Whether you choose to believe that or not, whether you can open your eyes enough to actually see just further than your nose. That's again, it's obviously down to one's interpretation of the current situation that we find ourselves in. With the club. I do agree on many aspects that I've heard, and obviously I've seen, and people have given me their own opinions and whatnot on how football is in general, and that's definitely been that the fact that the game is dying. Say that both really are dying. Let's be honest. Especially football, the game that we once fell in love with all those years ago. It's now a shadow of its former self. When you look at it, the club, I keep saying the club, the game is, it's being run no longer by the officials. The officials have to check always, they have to check, and probably they don't check enough, because no one really knows what's going on. So, yeah, with, just looking at it from obviously a distance, looking at it from afar, because obviously no fans are allowed back in stadiums as of yet, especially over in the UK. And I guess when you look at it, it's just, man, I guess it's a joke I've heard so much that I just can't bring myself to laugh anymore. Because it's either it's like that kind of you either laugh or you cry. It's one of them situations where, again, it's the game that we all fell in love with also, so many years ago. How we would love to have the game back to, I guess, once, to the game it once was. And there's always something new to talk about. There's always something, that perhaps shouldn't be talked about, but it's always in many aspects, it's always the same, I guess, the same things that keep being brought up. It's, VAR. Did VAR get it right, or did a penalty get given that wasn't meant to be one, or whatever the situation may be? Thankfully, the game itself against Leicester, Arsenal were their I guess their own worst enemy, as they have been for a long time. In recent times, and with everything that went down within the game, it just seemed like it was a game that we were never going to win. Whether you agree with the lineup, whether you agree with the manager, who he picks or whatnot, that's actually irrelevant. Because I'm not saying your opinion's irrelevant, but I mean it's just irrelevant because obviously the manager sees the players week in, week out, day in, day out in training, and obviously he sees who's giving the most and whatnot. So you've got to trust him no matter what. If you're a supporter of Arsenal, it doesn't matter who's in charge. You're a supporter of the club. It doesn't actually matter. Fans, obviously will always be the main part of the club, because obviously without fans there is no club. In I guess in some aspects, but you just when you kind of look at it and think, why are they not learning? Why are they not learning? I mean, I'm hearing all sorts of abuse being hurled at players and, and whatnot, and players that have been really, really good for us over the years. And I'm not going to name names because obviously, especially not the ones who are doing the abusing and whatnot, because actually, quite frankly, they're not worth the actual, they're not worth, they're literally, mud on the end of your shoe. They're not worth the time. And with all that being said, it's, as a club, it's a, quite a dark time that we're experiencing. And some would argue, maybe it's down to one reason, maybe it's down to another. Again, it's all your own opinions, and mine might not be one that you can resonate with, or yours might not be one that I agree with particularly, or we might just have to disagree to agree, or agree to disagree. So whatever. And the performance that they put out, against Leicester, it was nothing short of absolutely shambolic. I'm not going to come out and bash players and this and that, because I don't believe, and obviously I'm a massive, massive believer that they don't play bad for a reason. It's not because they're not good enough. It's not because, some people just can't see past their nose. That's it, ultimately. Some people just are not, I'm not going to say broad-minded enough, but not intelligent enough. They're not intelligent enough to realise that these players are not robots. That, they're not programmed to, play good one game and play bad for the next three. It's just, they're not, it's definitely not because they're not good enough, because we've seen this particular team play really, really well, and we played, against, I guess better teams so much, but we played certain teams off the park, in many aspects, in, I guess, Arteta's short term, I guess, that he has a short tenure, should I say. It's just, it's very, it makes the will to create sort of, I know, like, obviously I don't get many views on my videos and, and whatnot, and it's like, it makes it even harder to keep pumping out content when you're seeing unlawful, acts of, people tweeting anger at certain players, atting them. So, and they don't think that these players are going to see it. I'm living proof that these players do see it, because I put a story up about Granit Xhaka and the whole sort of situation where, it all busted up between the fans, and, he told us to F off, or, this and that and whatever, and he'd just had enough. Certain fans are like getting like that now. I've had enough of consistently seeing Arsenal fans, or I guess inverted commas, like speech marks, whatever, quotations, certain fans bashing players, praying, if you will, for Arsenal, for certain Arsenal players to lose their life. Let's be honest. I've seen, whether they're real, whether they're not, it's not something that should be ever brought to light. It's not something that should ever be brought to attention of social media, because, we all know social media is and can be a very, very toxic place. And when I see things like that, and it's just like, and I'm sure, many others are in the same boat, you just think, what is the actual point? What's the point of it all? Because, again, they're not playing bad for a reason. It's, let's just look further than your own nose, open your eyes as wide as physically possible, and see the bigger picture, that we're a club that are not, our fans have got to stop being so self-entitled. I'm certainly not one of them. I don't believe that we have a God-given right to be in a certain position or win a certain game. If anything, it was Groundhog Day against Leicester. So looking forward now, because obviously, we've spoken about sort of the Leicester game and, the lack of creativity, the lack of chances and this and that. There's, you've heard it all before. And with, everything that had been covered, and everything, in terms of like the lack of creativity, the Ozil situation and whatnot, that will be for another video. So I will definitely do a video on that as and when. Hopefully it'll be fairly soon. Yeah, that will be, for another time. But looking forward, because obviously, as everyone says, we move on to the next game. We move to Europa League action, game week number 2. We move to Dundalk. Dundalk at home, obviously coming off of a really, really shambolic performance again for against Rapid Vienna, out in Austria. It was a really, really poor performance from the guys, and one that I don't see replicated anytime soon. I think Arsenal would, we've definitely and will learn from that, and hopefully, in doing so, I guess pave the way for a relatively easy run through to the next round. Because obviously that's all we want, as fans. That's all we can hope for. And with the current squad, I generally and genuinely do believe that we've got what it takes, because why not? Because obviously if you don't believe, then what's the point? It's kind of like, what's the point of you following a football team if you don't actually believe in them? Some people, it just doesn't suit their narrative and doesn't suit their agenda, so it's obviously kind of, I guess, it can be a bit of a touchy subject for those those certain people out there. But everything obviously that has happened for a reason. We've gone through the hard times, and hopefully, we don't hopefully we don't continue to go through them. Dundalk, they're going to, obviously pose a different threat. We've never played them, as far as to my knowledge, unless it was in some kind of, I guess, pre-season tournament or, whatnot, maybe the Emirates Cup or whatever. But I don't think we have played them as of, like I said, as of my own knowledge. With, obviously them coming over, it's certainly going to be a different game. Obviously, different personnel. Obviously different players will be selected. We've seen the Europa League squad. Obviously that had been announced obviously before it all started. And again, be sure to leave your comments, thoughts, and opinions, on that and on everything that has been spoken about so far within this new style video, I guess. But for me, it's certainly it's one way kind of, where you kind of look at it and think we should win it comfortably, but you just don't, obviously as Arsenal fans, we don't know what Arsenal are going to turn up. I'm not saying that in any way negative. I'm not saying, to try and sort of, even remotely say or sound negative. So if it does sound negative, I apologise. It's not my intention. But with that, and obviously with it being a new competition, I guess, or a different competition, so I say, not new. But it's, it's one where you definitely, it poses different, different opportunities, different challenges. So, it's definitely one, much like what, the third part of the agenda, agenda gets thrown around a lot, but I mean agenda for the video purposes. The game against Manchester United is very much going to be similar to the game against Dundalk, where, different challenges and different opportunities are going to be, I guess, presented, and it's ultimately going to be down to how Arsenal deal with them, how we deal with them against, I guess specifically Dundalk, because obviously, as mentioned, we haven't played them before, and it will be interesting just to see how, first of all, how we set up, because that often, I guess, fuels my confidence. And obviously if I see a good blend of players selected, which I very much have faith in the Arsenal manager, and obviously the Arsenal sort of selectors such. I very much have faith in them in order for them to do so. But it's going to be really interesting. With the whole situation, and no fans in the ground and whatnot, that very may well benefit them more so than it benefits us. And the same could be said against Manchester United. Obviously, the last, just touch on that, because to be fair, I think obviously they're a team that we played many times before, and obviously we haven't won, I believe. I mean, I don't know how true it is or not, and whatnot, but it seems like we haven't won in there, up at Old Trafford for, forever. So I heard it was up to 15 years. How true that is, I actually can't remember. But for me, I can't remember the last time Arsenal won at Old Trafford. I can't really remember too much as to when we won against a last top six side actually in the Premier League, and actually played comfortable and won comfortable. But anyway, everything that was covered in the video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. I know it's a different style video and obviously a different style edit, and whatnot. But leave your thoughts, comments, and everything down below. subscribe to the channel. Obviously, you know, do all that good stuff. Like the video, share the video, even if, you know, if that's something you're into. And yeah, I guess all there is to say is I will see you in the next one. I hope you guys did enjoy. Peace out. Your boy, been a pleasure as always. See you later in a bit.